Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Kieran. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I like to help people using a spiritual perspective. I do tarot readings and stuff like that. Okay, so today I wanted to do a topic that I think is definitely inspired from my own life because of the amount of times that this has happened to me. But basically, what I wanted to talk about today is the purpose of obstacles and delays, okay, that occur within your life on the spiritual journey that you might be on, the awakening process, okay? Because when you do go through this type of journey, this deep and profound journey, what happens is you do experience a lot of obstacles, whether they're personal, internal, or external, okay? And as well as you experience a lot of delays, right? Things that you think are about to happen, and then there's something occurs, and then you have to wait an extra, week, 2 weeks, month, whatever the time frame may be. Okay, so I wanted to share with you about 2 or 3 ways about why this really occurs, what the spiritual meaning of this is, and why not to be afraid of it or why not to feel deterred from it. Okay, because it actually has a very, very positive undertone beneath it. Okay. Cool, so let me just get right into this. The first thing that I really wanted to talk about when it comes to obstacles and delays is anything worth doing requires struggle to prove that you did something, okay? It's all about creation, right? When you create something, when you're trying to create, when you have a vision, when you have something that you want to complete, a goal, an objective that you would like to reach, you're effectively giving birth to something. And as you know, and you can ask any woman this, birth is uncomfortable. Okay, it's uncomfortable for really everybody involved. I don't think anybody's like feeling quite good about it. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a birth, a baby coming out of a vagina. It's probably the worst thing that you could ever see. Outside of anything on the CW, it's a really terrible experience. And so, it's uncomfortable. That's definitely for the person giving the birth, right? Definitely for the baby that come out crying, they don't come out smiling. The idea here is that, and taking away from the metaphor, is that creating something is a difficult process, and it does involve a transition state. It's uncomfortable. It can make you, it can be a type of suffering, okay? I literally, as an infant inside the womb, I guess, tried to choke myself with my umbilical cord. I guess I really didn't want to be on Earth. But the idea there is that there's a reward, there's an end to this type of thing. There's something worth doing, right? And anytime that life, the universe, puts obstacles and delays in your way, it is not proof that you are somehow on the wrong path. It's not proof that you're going to fail. It's not proof that you're doing something wrong. It's literally quite the opposite, okay? It's proof that you are doing something right, that you're headed in a right direction, that you are making something and creating something, because obstacles are in your way, literally just to help you grow, to help you understand what's going on, to make you appreciate the fact that you're creating something, that you're doing something for yourself, okay? If you did not suffer, right? If you do not go through pain in your life, if you do not experience something that you could perceive to be negative, then how would you ever truly experience the opposite of that feeling, right? If you did not suffer, if you did not struggle, then how would you understand peace, right? You would never be able to appreciate it. And being on the spiritual journey is not just about you, and it is why things are not often handed to you on a silver platter. The point really of this journey is to teach you how to be self-reliant in all forms, and to start with the most important form, which is obviously mostly overlooked within today's modern society, which is all about your deep spiritual self. Because when you think and act and harness the energy within yourself and use that as the basis for your existence, then you are making true change, not only in yourself, but in others, and of course the collective in the world, right? And so there's a reason that people on this journey, this spiritual journey, experience a lot of obstacles and delays, whether they're personal goals, external goals, it doesn't matter. The idea here is to keep giving you things that you can overcome, not as proof that you're doing anything wrong or, that you're a failure in some sort. No, completely the opposite. Again, obstacles and delays are not there to force you to give up. They're there for you to understand that you can keep going, right? They're literally proof that you are going to accomplish something, because obstacles are not, they're instances in time. They're things that exist on points, on a timeline. They're not a constant thing. Now you might think that they're a constant thing, but all that's really happening is you haven't figured out how to overcome the obstacle, which is an entirely separate issue. Obstacles are there to make you and force you to believe in yourself, because without some type of delay, without some type of obstacle, you would never have the courage or the inspiration or the drive to overcome it. And when you look at obstacles as something that is purely in your way that you cannot get past, then you find life much more difficult, and you become a little bit more resentful towards the universe because it's put you on this path. And you expect everything to be quite easy. But the thing is, the easiness comes from mastering yourself, right? And in order to master yourself, you need obstacles towards yourself. You need obstacles in the way of your true soul. You need obstacles in the way of your dreams and your visions and your goals. Otherwise, nothing is ever going to be worth it to you. You're never going to prove to yourself that you can do anything, that anything would have been accomplished. Because without those obstacles in the way of your true self, of the goals that you're trying to reach, just even if it's something as simple, or maybe not so simple, as becoming more whole and loving yourself more, there's always going to be obstacles, whether they're addictions or negative fears or insecurities. Those things are always going to be there, because when you accomplish them, when you overcome them, you remove them. And you see yourself level up each time. And as you see yourself grow and you see yourself level up, you're able to look back on it so that the next obstacle, the next challenge, you can handle better because you've matured, or you've at least learned how to handle obstacles better, right? It's always there as a testament and a proof of your accomplishment. If you were not able to look back at things, then you would never understand where you've come from or where you have to go. And that's really also, as a side note, really the point of history. And that's why your own personal history is very, very important. And you can think about your own life as a hero's journey, okay? In literature, the hero's journey is always a type of cycle where it starts where the hero, in this case would be you, starts in a comfortable position, the comfort zone, whatever it may be, the place that they know, and then something triggers it, something happens, and then they start their cycle by going down. And on that cycle, it's met with many obstacles, many monsters, great fears, their biggest enemies, but you also get help and guidance, whether or not they're spiritual or, other people in nature, always something pushing you so you can fulfill that circle, that cycle, always coming home again with some new perspective learned. And so again, obstacles are there to teach you how to grow so that you can grow and expand your own awareness and your own consciousness, right? They're not there as proof, again, that you're failing or something like that. If anything, you should take obstacles and delays as a good sign. Doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy them or that they aren't difficult. Obviously, allow yourself to process them in whatever way feels most comfortable for you. But never stop believing in yourself, because that causes more delays and obstacles, and they're going to be reflected back at you. Okay, and a perfect example of this is, there's so many times in my spiritual awakening journey that I have stopped a specific goal of mine just because I was either too afraid to keep going, or I didn't believe that I could do it. And it's not like that goes away. The dream and the vision doesn't suddenly go away, but the obstacles then pile up. You had one obstacle to start with, and then the next thing you know, you have a bunch of, when you give up on it, you don't eliminate obstacles, right? By stopping doing something, you create more obstacles, except the only difference now is, rather than there being one obstacle that you could plainly see, there's now 20, and most of them are now in your head, right? You've created these limitations for yourself by believing that an obstacle is there to constrain you and stop you fully, when all an obstacle is proof of that it's meant to be overcome. That's it. All obstacles are proof to be overcome. And the best way that you can think about this, and this is why I wanted to transition it into really number 2, is if you think about an obstacle course, okay? Because what I wrote down here is that obstacles are not meant to deter you. They're meant to help you, okay? So think about an obstacle course, right? You know, the things with... what do they do at obstacle courses? Run with eggs? I don't know. Just try to guess thing. I haven't done an obstacle course in a long time. I think there's like an egg with a spoon. I don't know how many drugs you can do in a couple minutes. I have no idea what kind of obstacle courses they got going on. But when I was a kid, it was like, three-legged race, or you can think of those hurdles when people do those races, those Olympic races where they have to jump over the hurdles, like, that physical, I think it might be called a hurdle. When people do that, right? If you think about that, there is a beginning and there is an end. And the goal, of course, is to complete the obstacle course, complete the race, whatever it may be. And during that whole event, there's obstacles in the way, things that you're trying to accomplish, but you can see that there's an end. You know that there's an end inside of your mind. Internally, you always know that there is an end, there is a victory, there is a goal. So the obstacles in this such example are only there not to deter you, but to be overcome, because that's part of the race. But when you think of life as some easy breezy cover girl, or whatever, when you see it as something that's, that there is not supposed to be obstacles, or that you believe that when obstacles happen that you can't accomplish them or you overcome them, then what happens is, you lose sight of yourself, and you become so bogged down by the details of the obstacles that you forget that there is an end, that there is a goal, that there is something that you're heading towards. Because if you were to look at it and treat it like some type of specific event, some type of obstacle, race, right? And apply that to where you are in your life, you will see that, oh, well, actually what's happening is there is a goal. There is something I'm going to reach. There is proof that I am going to reach it. All that's happening is I'm just living out the moments now, taking the steps to meet that. Because remember, time only ever happens in the now moment. So if you're having trouble understanding where you are in your current journey, whether or not it's in your spiritual awakening process, or whether it's your own personal dream or vision that you have, or if both of them are in tandem with each other, you'll understand that and recognize that what's happening is you're moving towards something that's already happened, okay? Because time happens in the now moment. So the event and the accomplishment and the goal that you're trying to reach, that's already happened, right? It's physically already happened. The only thing that is really that you're doing is moving towards it. You are basically meeting the universe halfway. Because again, it's an obstacle course. The obstacles are there as part of the course. They're not there so that when you first run into it, you go, ah, shit, I guess I suck. I should turn around and stop doing it. That's always going to be something from the ego, something from the fear, or some type of wound from your childhood. Again, maybe somebody told you that you couldn't do things, okay? I definitely grew up in that type of childhood environment where I was constantly having this reiteration of I can't. That's always been a theme that has always been rampant throughout my life, is those two words, I can't, okay? And when you understand and look at that and you start to go, well, then who really is saying I can't, right? Because nothing about me is inherently negative. So why can't I, right? And that's the idea here, guys, is not to give up and to stop focusing on the details of it. Because the details are just that, right? Learning to go with the flow and understanding that you come upon an obstacle that you can't see, right? You didn't see coming. And so you come upon this obstacle, and instead of, yelling at it or going up against it and trying to destroy it angrily or giving up or whatever it might be, that's the negative response to it, you understand that it's just a part of this journey, right? It's not something that needs to be looked at and focused upon and constantly trying to analyze the obstacle and look at everything that's going on about the obstacle rather than just overcoming it, right? Because there is an end. There is something that you're heading towards, and it is there. An obstacle is proof, literally proof that there is an end result. Because without the end result, there would be no obstacle, and without an obstacle, there would be no end result, right? They literally work with each other. Okay, there's a saying, I believe, which is to not, something about, what is it? Not seeing the forest through the trees or something like that. So again, focusing on a tree, right? Whatever tree you might come upon, rather than the whole forest, rather than the thing that you're working towards, right? So if you have a specific goal, whether or not that's writing a book, becoming a musician, starting a business, okay, or if it's something personal, overcoming an addiction, changing your diet, whatever it may be, okay, focusing on the details and the things that go on, the obstacles that are happening in the way, when you focus on them, you bog yourself down and keep yourself stagnated rather than just going with the flow. Something gets in your way, don't be worried about it. It's just there to prove to you that you can do it. And when you understand that, you'll find a natural solution. And that's the part about being spiritually awakened that is easy. It's not that we experience no obstacles. What makes it easy for us, if you're in tune with yourself and your soul and your intuition, is going with the flow and ignoring the details and going, shit, that happened, but I don't care, whatever. And you just go with the flow, you go around it. And you can just avoid so much more hassle that way. And things then do flow very naturally too, because you don't look at the obstacle as an impediment to yourself and some type of proof that you're doing something wrong, because then you stop the flow of information, a new, bright, soul type of loving information, something profound and creative. You stop that from coming into you from different sources, whether or not it's your own inspiration, somebody else saying the right thing at the right time, whatever it may be. When you focus on the negative only, you stop yourself from getting that. And if you just stop focusing on the details and just remember your goal, remember where you're headed, rather than what's right in front of you, if it's an obstacle, you'll understand and you'll see that things come much more naturally. And that's where this true power comes from. And you'll be able to avoid future obstacles because you are maturing along this way. And that's the whole point. The spiritual awakening journey is to make life easier for you, but it's often so difficult initially because you have to adjust and you have to learn and you have to understand yourself at a deep core level in order to help yourself, help others, and heal this planet, which is drastically changing as we speak, okay? And not just in an emotional way or an energetic way, but also on a physical level, right? With everything that's going on there, right? So, thirdly, and this basically has to do with the delays, which has always been more of my problem because I'm a very impatient person. I also just noticed that my drapes match my shirt. That bothers me. Anyway, continuing. I'm an impatient person. So obstacles to me are not that big of a deal, but delays have always been a thorn in my side, to use the cliche expression, okay? But obstacles really have, delays really have this primary role, okay? And the biggest thing that I've noticed in my own life, because I have always experienced more delays than obstacles, and you can consider them the same thing because an obstacle might be a delay, but simply by delays I mean wanting to get something and you're just about there and then it's pushed back a little bit, right? So a delay might be, you want to get your you're about to get ready to buy something, and then the next thing something happens it's pushed back. So a very good example of this would be, I recently bought a car, and in getting that car, I thought that everything was gonna be ready. I got the car, okay, I paid for it, there's the money, and then there was all this slow, I had to get it smogged, it didn't pass the smog, there's your delay right there, that's another a couple days or whatever, right? Okay, I couldn't drive it today, right, great. Then there's, the registration, there's everything that goes along with it. So even when I bought the car thinking it would be ready to drive that day, whatever, that week even, it turned out to be 2 to 3 weeks that it's going on now. And it's like slowly it's becoming road legal. Not to say that I don't drive it anyway, but the idea here is that it's these delays and stuff, right? Anything like that, even something as simple as buying something online and you think that it's going to come, on Wednesday because you bought it, last, Wednesday or something like that, right? A week seems like a pretty good thing, but then, something happens in the post office and it's like, oh, sorry, we shipped it to the wrong place. It's going to be an extra 2 days. There's your delay right there, right? Something that you wanted to get, okay? Delays are often there, and I've noticed this in my own life, to teach you to slow down and appreciate and learn the lessons that are happening within your life currently, okay? And this definitely will happen. The more impatient you are, the more delays you will experience. Take this from somebody who is so goddamn impatient. I'm really impatient. I've gotten better, but I'm super impatient with almost everything because as a soul in an intuitive level, I understand that things happen in the 5D like that. And that would be the point where it's not my fingers if I knew how. But things happen very, very quickly, okay, in the 5D. They happen instantly. But in order for it to transition into the world that we're looking at, into the 3D, right, that is where the delay, that's where the time goes, right? And the proof of that is when you set a goal for yourself and you reach it. Okay, again, tying back into the obstacles. If you want to be a writer, okay? And I'll just use myself. I definitely want to publish a book. So let's say, because I believe that at some point in my life, I will have published a book. I'm just working towards that inevitability, okay? That goal, that dream, right? The delays that are in the way, the details, the things that stop me from accomplishing that dream, it doesn't matter, because that's that already exists in the future, okay? And again, by slowing down and appreciating what's happening during this time, by not having those goals reached right now, it forces me to understand where I'm at, right? To not rush my dreams, to not try and force things to happen, because it's already going to happen anyway. So why should I need to bother about doing it, right? Why should I need to constantly, try and force things to happen at a different rate, because it was already going to happen. So it doesn't matter. And so when you have these delays, they force you to slow down. They force you to look at your life and learn the lessons that you need to learn right now. Because when you're constantly thinking in the future rather than in the present, you get constant delays, because you're not learning something. Because in the present is where you learn the moments, where you understand what's going on, and where you understand what's happening within yourself, okay? Because again, from that soul perspective, I understand, and you should understand too, that things are already happening in the 5D. That they've already happened. I've already became a writer. That's already happened, okay? I'm just not one right now in this current moment. But once we reach that moment, whether it be 2 months, 6 months, 2 years, whatever time length that is, it is going to happen. But I will constantly get delays and obstacles unless I focus on what's going on right now, right? But again, the 5D, that's why I'm impatient, because I understand that intuitively it's already happened, right? I'm just working up, leading myself to that point. Because as soon as every day, right, in order to get that book published, what you would need to do is you would need to write. You would need to have a schedule. You need to have some type of discipline, some time management skills, right? And then you work on it, and then it's done. And if you believe it and you understand it, then you'll understand that no matter what happens, whether or not I get rejected 2 or 3 times, it doesn't matter, right? J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, she was rejected, I believe, 9 times before she was ever accepted. And I'm sure that those 8 places before those publishing companies, I bet they're still kicking themselves in the ass for that, because it turned out to be wildly successful, right? And she became the first woman billionaire, and the first, I don't know if the first person, but she was so wealthy that she gave so much of it away that she actually stopped being a billionaire and became a millionaire, right? Because she gave so much money away to charity, right? Again, delays and things are not there to dissuade you, just like with her. Getting rejected 9 times is a lot of times to keep going. It's a lot of times to have to pick yourself up and keep trying with other places. But she was always destined to be that writer. She was always going to be that, because it was always part of her contract, of her soul, her dream, and her goal, right? Same thing with you guys. Same thing with me, okay? When you rush your awakening process, when you rush your dreams, when you rush your goals, not only do you not appreciate the lessons that are being learned, you cause a deep amount of stress and confusion within your life, okay? I went through my spiritual awakening journey so incredibly quickly that it caused me such stress and pain that I could have avoided so much of it looking back, that it was a wonder that I never just stopped worrying, that I just would have accepted the fact of where I was at the time. But instead of accepting where I was, I constantly tried to be where I was not. And when you do not accept where you are and try to be somewhere else that you physically and spiritually cannot be at this moment, you will never get there, because you're not maturing, you're not learning the lessons, you're not creating anything. You're just trying to rush a process that cannot be rushed, because you cannot complete something without taking the necessary steps, right? This is something that happens with many people that are spiritually awakened. When they have the journey, they often become very disillusioned with what's going on in their life, and they quit whatever part of their life they're at, which is something I do not regret, because I needed to do that. But any awakened person, any true master, always comes back to society. I didn't want to become a hippie living in a van smoking a bunch of weed. That's not what I wanted my life to be like. Not that I ever did live in a van, but there was times where I basically last year, when after a short time of becoming awakened, quit my life, and I traveled across the United States. Okay, I took my car. I didn't pay any of my bills. I neglected everything and everybody around me. Everything was falling apart anyway. I just needed to go clear my head. It was a new process for me. It's very insane to be an atheist one day and then the next believe in spirituality, right? It's a very interesting and quick process, right? It happened very, very quickly. And I just traveled around the United States, basically kind of fucked off for like 2 or 3 months. Okay, like living out of my car, living at other people's houses, sometimes being stuck in places for 3 days, not having eaten anything. Okay, just drinking water from the rest stop fountain. Doing all of that, while I understand it had its purpose and that it needed to happen, I can now look back and go, I created such unnecessary pain for myself by never refusing to come back, by always refusing to come back into society and learn the actual lessons. I just wanted to be the spiritually awakened master right away, just because I knew that it was coming. Do you understand? And that's why I'm mentioning all this. And that is why delays happen, right? You cannot force yourself to become something that you overnight. You just can't. Now, again, you might recognize that, well, I want to be a writer, I want to be a singer, I want to be a producer, I want to do this, I want to have even a romantic relationship, right? Something like that. And for all the people that watch my twin flame tarot readers, you might want your twin flame, right? But again, you can't, there's a reason that it's being delayed. And the delay of everything is so that you appreciate where you are now and learn the lessons and grow properly within your course, right? If you want to be a writer, you can't be a writer or an author or have that published book tomorrow, but you can take action today. And so again, people, when you're always focusing on the future, you'll get a lot of delays in your life. A lot of obstacles will come in order for you to look at where you are at clearly and honestly, so that you can make the proper changes now in this moment, so that when the moment of truth does come, when that success, and the inevitable success, whatever it might be, does come, you are actually ready to accept it. Okay? You might be one of those people, lessons that I've definitely learned lately of when you constantly ask for love, for example. This is a great one that so many people do. Constantly ask and ask for it, rather than doing any real necessary work, working on yourself, so that when it does come and somebody offers you love, you're too afraid to take it. Because you've desperately craved it and desperately wanted it, but you never actually took care of yourself at the same time. Something that I've often done with love, so that when it is finally presented to you, and to me in my life, I've always been too afraid to take it, and so I've missed the opportunities, and I've decided to not do anything about it. Okay? Because I didn't do the work. Okay? And that is the benefit, again, of the delays. Okay? They're not there, again, to prove that you're not going to get your dreams. They're just there so you slow down and look at where you're at and just accept it. Because when you accept where you're at, you can get to where you need to be quicker. So don't do what I did, guys, and constantly look to the future. Try to be something overnight. Give yourself some patience. Give yourself a break. Don't rush these things, because you're inevitably causing way too much stress for yourself, unnecessary pain, confusion. Really, you'll lose yourself along the way, and you'll forget to basically fill up for gas, okay? You'll burn out. So it's important that you look at where you're at and accept it and do what you can with what you have right now, because when you do that, you'll put yourself in the flow so that the things that you do need come much quicker. But when you try to skip all of those steps, you will never really get supported. It'll always try and bring you back to the point. You'll get supported in being brought back to your point A or your point of origin, but but you cannot get to where your goal by skipping steps. Okay, you just can't. It's not like in life where you have like a sidewalk and some grass, and you just cut across the grass to get to the other part of the sidewalk. It's really not that easy. And even then, you might not want to get your sneakers dirty and covered in grass, right? Everything has its little cause and effect, okay? So don't rush things, guys. And remember, the purpose of your obstacles and delays is not to prove that you've done anything wrong, but to prove that you are headed somewhere and that you're growing. So just focus on that growth, focus on where you're at, and you'll be able to manifest everything that you need, whether there's solutions, people, money, whatever it may be. right when you need it, and it'll be much, much smoother and quicker, okay? All right, guys, so I hope that helps. Please let me know if it did, and I hope that you guys have an enjoyable week, all right? Thanks, guys, so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.